All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and we are here to look at the IS350 Lexus, the 2015 model year. So it's a vehicle that originally cost about 50 racks. Now it's about half that. It's like $23,000 now, or 23.8, pardon me. But yeah, we are here at Cary Imports. So if you're interested in purchasing this vehicle, you can hit them up. All their information will be down in the description box below because it is quite a rare spec, like the red with the beige interior. It's not the F Sport, but it is the 350 with the big boy engine in it. So with that established, let's just take this bad boy out for a spin and see what's what. So the IS350, it's a vehicle that many people lust for in the used car segment, and I get why, because especially this particular model. I haven't yet driven the previous generation. I really want to, but the one complaint that I kept hearing about the previous generation IS350 and the IS in general is that there wasn't a whole lot of rear leg space. Basically, it wasn't a huge car. This kind of fixes that, but we'll get to that in a bit. The most important thing is the looks of this car. The looks of this is stunning. I wasn't a big fan of it when it first came out, but later on I began to really appreciate it. I thought the taillights looked kind of weird on it, but now that it's been out for like 6 years now, I've already done a review on the IS350 F Sport as well, the 2014 model year. That was also here at Cary Imports, but that didn't last long. It's actually a viewer who bought that vehicle, so that was kind of interesting, but it's gonna be a good little comparison. But the most important thing is, the way that this car looks, it still demands attention till this day, and it is really quite spectacular. This red paint color really brings it out. Lexus always does a phenomenal job with the paint, of course, so that's a great plus right there. But it's highly coveted, especially in the 350 model, because it's got that engine in it. It's got the Lexus reliability. It's their sports sedan, if you will. It's one of them, more like this and the RC are like their sportiest vehicles, I feel like, in their lineup, aside from the LC, of course. But this is still just a great little car to tool around it. I think, yeah, you can definitely save some money in the used car segment by not getting the F Sport. It is great. It does really transform the vehicle, not just the exterior of it, but also just the way the vehicle feels. Bending that corner, it's got a great chassis, by the way. But rigging out that motor, it is so much fun. And dude, these things are deceptively fast. I mean, yeah, I drive an LC, but I loved the 350 versions of the IS and the RC. They are just so magnificent to ring out. And this one does, in fact, have that little intake tube thing similar to the LC that everybody goes crazy over. This one does have it. All the 350 models have that for the IS and the RC. And you can get the intake tubing if you get the IS 250 with the F Sport package. So that's another thing. I like the fact that Lexus utilizes these V6 engines, at least as of right now anyway, if you look at the IS 250 and all that good stuff. But this is, of course, a motor that you want. It sounds so good to ring out. It just has this nice little whiny sound to it, which I really appreciate. But I've also had extensive drives and vehicles like the BMW 3 Series, and honestly, I think this is 1 or 2% behind the BMW in terms of the chassis and overall handling of it. But honestly, this car makes up for it in the ride quality of this. I really, truly, I wasn't expecting the IS cars or the RC cars to ride this well. You got a guy right here, looking at the IS. But anyway, I really wasn't expecting these vehicles to handle and feel this well for what it is and ride this good. So that was a great plus point. This vehicle does run on 18-inch wheels, by the way. It is running on some run flat tires, I believe, so there's that as well. But it's a car that you can buy. You don't look like a jerk off. Everybody takes you seriously. It's a nice, prestigious vehicle. These are the great intangibles of owning a vehicle like this. It's 5-6 years old. Nobody even knows, because nobody knows about cars, right? They just see the big fancy Lexus with the LED lights and it just looks boss as hell. It's like cars like this, the Acura TLX, stuff like this are relatively affordable in the used car market. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to maintain and own. You can get cheap warranties for it, and it just drives really well. Already breaking the speed limit, of course. I mean, it's just this is the reason why I love cars like this. I mean, they just give you that effortless power, practical power that you can actually use out on the road. That's a great thing about it. These things are also extremely quiet as well. There's not a lot of road noise, not a lot of wind noise. Even at the highway speeds, these things are so stable, so comfortable. It is just it's still a Lexus at the end of the day. They haven't screwed that part up, and that's why I really like it. Now, one of the negatives that I found with this car, especially if it's not an F Sport trim, is the transmission doesn't react as quickly. It's a more of a lazy transmission, if you will. This does utilize the 8-speed actually, because it's the rear-wheel drive trim. This is not the all-wheel drive, but even though it's rear-wheel drive, even if you have traction control off and everything like that, it's really like a safe car to drive, if you will. That's how Lexus always does their cars. Even the LC 500, right? It's not that easy to get it sideways, but you can have some fun with it, which I really like. But most people are going to appreciate the fact that it's so safe. And being that rear-wheel drive architecture car, it really like pushes you through. It gives you that shoving sensation that a front-wheel drive car just can't give you. Like an Acura. This doesn't like plow around everywhere. This is actually like, it's got that rear-wheel drive characteristic to it that people really like. So I really like that as well. This is by far, I think, my most favorite Lexus product in their lineup, the IS, due to everything that has going on for itself. Just how quiet it is, just how comfortable it is, the looks, the price, especially, if you get it used. There's just so many great things going on for this vehicle. That transmission definitely, at least in this trim, it's not perfect. The F Sport really does fix that up quite a bit. God, like these V6s, man, they are just such a honey of a motor. I mean, like Acura and Lexus, they kind of do it best with the V6s. They have such a great tone to it, and I really do appreciate it. There's like a character in ringing this car out. This has more of a character than a BMW 3 Series. I don't care how you want to compare them, spec sheets and all that stuff. I get it, a 3 Series would be technically superior on paper. I used to own the 440i, and I did love that car, but there is definitely a satisfaction in ringing this engine out that I think a lot of people can really appreciate practically out on the road. Transmission aside, if you're just going to be tooling this around like how most people are, you can kind of forgive it because it is a very smooth transmission when you're just putting around, I guess. Really great body control. The steering isn't ridiculous. It's actually like it's an electric steering rack, but it's like slightly on the heavier side, which I really like. There's a good like feel to it. You know what I'm saying? Some people might call this numb or whatever. I really love Lexus steering racks. I think they're just perfectly calibrated for the streets. It's not like a BMW M steering rack where it's just like overweighted for no apparent reason, and like there's like no practical reason for it to feel that way. I've had to go over these railroad bumps here. Soak that up extremely well. And again, these are on the run flat tires as well. There's a sport mode here as well, screw it, just put it in that mode, I guess. Brakes are really good too, by the way. It's not the F Sport brakes, but like they still do such a great job. Little G-Wagon here. Yeah, this thing handles itself extremely well. Got a little G63 AMG in front of me. It's not Kylie Jenner, but they're going about 10 under the speed limit. Great, very nice. G63, by the way, not a 550. Anyway, screw that. Yeah, this is going to be more than enough for people out on the street. Like this is, I feel like many people would consider this to be fast, if you will, especially if you haven't really experienced a V6. It is truly fast. I think for street driving, like you get onto the highway, like it just sings, and it's just, again, a naturally aspirated motor that just builds out the power progressively. It's just by far the most satisfying thing. And the great thing is, even if you got a 250, it's still a V6, so it doesn't sound stupid, but it's like a 2.5 liter V6. I really want to try out that vehicle as well, preferably in the previous generation model year. Let's see if I can get my hands on one of those. It's got the same stupid turn signal as a BMW back for this generation of car, which I really hate, but whatever. You do get used to it. It's not a big deal, but it is like a very unnatural turn signal. I don't know why they used to do this, but whatever. About to overtake the G-Wagon. Amazing engine. I love that. I keep mentioning that. That is by far the biggest highlight for me. This is why I don't care about 0 to 60 numbers and all this stuff. Like the way a car feels, that's the most important thing. And I went over some really garbage roads in this car right here, and it just ate it up really well. There's like 1 or 2 slight creaks and rattles, only because it's like really sunny out right now, and just like the plastics and stuff, they're kind of like expanding and contracting type of thing. So as a whole, though, this is like an extremely tight cabin, which we're about to see in the interior segment in a bit. Doesn't really rev match downshifts, but whatever. And driving the sport mode doesn't really change a whole lot, I guess. I mean, it's not really a big deal. I like the size of the steering wheel as well. It's also very nice. There's a little sunroof in here as well. Plenty of grip, of course. Like, there's no, like, drama driving this car. It just puts down all of its power because it's like an adequate amount of power and it's a naturally aspirated type of power. So you have no issues with grip whatsoever. Stops just as good as pretty much like the F Sport cars do, actually. I don't really find a huge difference in like stopping power with a lot of these things. This is a very relaxing car, but in like a sports sedan type body. This is definitely, if you're in the used car segment, yeah, it does cost a little bit more than like your TLXs and stuff like that, but it is definitely worth it. Like if you're looking at a 3 Series or something like that, and you're like the type of person who really keeps cars for like the long run, hands down this is a choice because it has like the incredible residual values, like insane resale value, because everybody wants one, primarily because it drives well, it's got very good power, it's got pretty much everything you want, and it's like super reliable. So it's just like one of the perfect cars you can own. And as we are about to see in the interior segment, it is just so spacious in here as well. It's a very practical car. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's talk about that interior real quick and wrap up this quick review. All right, about to come to a stop here. The interior of this car, very similar to a lot of the other Lexus products I have personally reviewed. It's nothing too out of the ordinary. It's a very well put together cabin space, very solid, and I do really appreciate it. Again, that build quality is another reason why these things have such high resale value. It is by far like this, and like I feel like the Genesis products are like the cars that have like, you know, they age the best. You know, they have like the most tightest, most well put together interior spaces. So that's another great thing. This particular one has like a lot of, you know, little nice little features that you would like. You know, a little backup camera makes it very easy to park, of course, but it's a very easy car to drive in general. There's like another thing I would mention in the driving segment was like it's just so easy to drive. There's like no real blind spots, nothing out of the ordinary. Like once you have the mirrors set up properly, it's just such an easy car to drive. So that's another positive. Foot activated parking brake. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, yeah, heated and cooled seats, and this particular one also has like the one touch up and down windows for all 4 windows. I absolutely love that. And it's not double pane glass or anything like that, but it's nice thick glass. But again, like I mentioned, it's very quiet even at speed, so that's very good. I like the shape of the steering wheel. It's a nice practical shape. I do like that. Nice little paddle shifters, but again, I never really drive this particular model like that. I just leave it in automatic, let it do its thing, because in the non-F Sport trim, that is like the best way to kind of drive this car. Nice little door pocket space. Easily you can fit a water bottle in here as well. You know, a nice little 2 cup holders right here. Nice little center armrest as well. Not too many issues there. It's not super large, but you know, it's whatever. We'll make it work. And the glove box is a decent size as well, so that's great. This is very similar to the RC I reviewed as well. They pretty much have like the identical interiors, and it's just like this nice big slab of plastic with all the buttons that you need. You know, the climate control, all of this stuff. It's all separated completely from that infotainment screen, and it just works beautifully. You know, you have like this very cool kind of control for the temperature. I love it. You just kind of like slide your finger on it. It's so cool. I absolutely love it. The volume controls, the tuning knobs, they have like a nice quality feel to it. You even have a CD player in here. You don't have the Mark Levinson or anything like that, but it is still like a really good sounding sound system. I do like it a lot. Lexus does a great job with the sound system, so that's good. Automatic headlights. You got the little window wiper stock thing as well. Nice little controls on the steering wheel to control the volume, your track selection, all that good stuff. You don't have the F Sport, like that LFA thing that moves around that gauge cluster. It's like 2 regular, like a tachometer and the speedometer separated, but they still look really phenomenal. I don't really care much for the LFA inspired gauge cluster. It is cool, I'm not gonna lie, but these look extremely good with the kind of metal kind of bezel going around it. I do appreciate that as well. Another thing, these things are really economical. They get like 20 city, 30 on the highway, like very good gas mileage. I average about 20 in these things, so that's pretty good as well. You have a physical kind of like gear selection knob, and that's great. That's really going away in a lot of these new cars. Let's talk about this infotainment here. I personally, again, I don't mind it. It gets a job done. I mean, you have this little mouse thing here. It's perfectly adequate. You just connect your Bluetooth and you just enjoy listening to your music, and I don't really screw with it afterwards because all the climate control is completely separated. So I personally don't care. There's not really much to do in that screen anyway, and honestly I kind of find it easy to use. I don't mind using this mouse. I think it's pretty accurate. I don't care about it. A lot of people complain, but I really don't. You have your driving selection knob thing here, as well as traction control off. That'll help it, get a little bit more sideways if you wanted to. Piano gloss black plastic, very seldom use of it in this cabin. However, it is here. It's in this high traffic area, which kind of sucks, but it doesn't look too bad. This particular car does have about 50,000 miles on it, but it's held up extremely well. No real issues here. It's a very clean car. Stop start button is up here. I guess it's kind of cool. Got a nice little Lexus clock, little sunroof like I mentioned. Very soft, very plush interior, by the way. I like this headlining material. Very just high quality. I really appreciate that as well. Everything has a nice little heft to it. Like these doors feel like quality. These seats have aged perfectly. There's actually zero faults with these seats. There's not even a wrinkle on them. I think that's because it's like the fake leather, it's like a synthetic type of leather, but they're so comfortable, they're so plush. You can do hella miles in this thing, no issues, no questions asked. This is by far, I do think that this is superior to an Acura. It does cost a little bit more, compared to like a TLX or something like that, but this car, the price that it demands, it is definitely worth it for the quality of vehicle and just how good it drives. So this is going to be like a massive step up for a lot of people. If you're coming from a Camry, a Civic or something like that, and this is like your first kind of nice car, if you will. You can get this thing with 50K miles. You can get this thing with 100K miles, 250K miles. It's going to feel exactly like this. That's the power of Lexus, and that's why I like it. This thing, it feels like a brand new car. Like there's no real hints at the fact that it even has 50K miles, so that's very impressive. So, when we talk about the back seats, same story. It's aged extremely well, but the most important thing is I fit in it. The front seat, I have a great seating position in this thing. There's good adjustability in the seat, but I can also sit behind myself at 5'11" with zero issues at all. Headroom is good. Everything is good. The trunk space is extremely spacious for what it is. Again, it's just a nice, practical little whip that'll fit all your friends comfortably. You can do hella miles in it. You can do road trips in it and actually fit things in it. So that's why the IS, this particular generation, is one of my most favorite Lexus products to come out. I am excited for the new one. I'm really curious to see what they've done with it. I've heard talks about like a V8 and all this other stuff. I think it's going to use like a BMW engine in it. So if you are a Lexus freak, this is going to be the last generation of Lexus to use like these corporate V6 engines that they've, you all love Lexus for, right? It is that 3.5 liter V6. So that is here with this particular model. If you want to buy this particular model, it is located at Cary Imports. They can ship the car at your own expense. You do have to arrange it, but they'll help you out with it. They ship cars all the time. So if you want to purchase this vehicle, all their information is down in the description box below. It's like $23,800. So if you want to buy it, there you go. But that's your review on the IS350. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're an owner of this vehicle, please leave your thoughts down in the description box below. I'm sorry, the comment section below. But thank you again for watching. Take care and goodbye.